You're watching The Breakfast Club.
Morning, everybody. It's DJ MV Angela Yee, Charlamagne the God. We are The Breakfast Club. We have a special guest in the building today, Michi Marshall.
Yes.
Welcome.
Good morning, Michi.
Hi. So excited to be here.
Ain't you supposed to be in New Orleans?
I am. I actually fly out Friday.
Okay.
Friday. So we're going to spend the holiday there for our new team.
That's nice. I love New Orleans.
So do I. The food is so good. Oh, my gosh.
Shout out to our guy, Larry, who owns the
shout
restaurant
to Larry
Murrow's
Morrow.
out there.
Have you been there yet?
I visited a few times,
Okay.
but
I mean,
haven't.
we're going to set you up in Murrow's. You got to
Morrow's
go to
Place
Larry's
restaurant.
restaurant.
Please do.
restaurant.
Please do.
Now, you're the reason, part of the reason why we're here today. Of course, we're doing Change for Change, where we're asking people to donate.
Yes.
Last year, we raised over $800,000 for Gathering of Justice, and this year, we're doing it for Project 375. And we've been doing it all day. If you're listening, text CHANGE to 52182 or head over to the website bcchangeforchange.com.
Now, Michi, since you are in charge of this organization, why don't you give us some information on why you guys started Project 375, you and Brandon Marshall, your husband?
Yes. So it started a long time ago, about 2011. My husband was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. And this was a disorder that was very disruptive in his life and his career and our personal lives. And it wasn't until he got that diagnosis that he understood kind of where some of his struggles and battles were coming from. When he signed with the Miami Dolphins, he did a press conference after an incident and let the world know, like, I have a diagnosis of borderline personality disorder and this is what it is. During that time, not a lot of people were talking about it. Had he known what he knew when he was diagnosed, a lot of the struggles and the stuff that he and we had been through probably wouldn't have been there. Mm-hmm. So it was at that time that we were like, okay, what can we do with this? How can we help people? How come it's been so long and he never knew that this was a thing? He had seen doctors, he had seen different psychiatrists, psychologists, talk to people, but never had a diagnosis.
What was disruptive, just so we know when you said it was disruptive in your lives?
So when somebody is dealing with borderline personality disorder, that is it's one of the most stigmatized disorders there is. What that is an emotional disorder. So everybody has a baseline, right? And a baseline is kind of what is your typical. I wouldn't say normal because depends on the person.
Normal's relative, subjective.
Right. So what's typical for you as an individual? So for me, say somebody cuts me off driving, I get upset. Mm-hmm. Maybe I'm over it in 5 minutes. Mm-hmm. Well, somebody who has emotional dysregulation, such as somebody who is dealing with borderline personality disorder, that can take anywhere from an hour, maybe 24 hours.
They might follow the person
maybe
in the
2
car
days.
Just to curse them out.
I mean, that's debatable, but you wouldn't get over it as fast as somebody else who is able to regulate their own emotions, So you can imagine when there's upsets, drama, family issues, marital issues.
Because there's always something going on.
Always. And it doesn't matter if you're dealing with something or not. There's always something going on in your life that can be perceived as stressful or a disruption or uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. So it was at that time that we decided, you know what, we need to help somebody. We need to help people with this. Mm-hmm. If Brandon was not in the position that he was in the NFL, he would not have been able to afford the care that he got. He went to the #1 psychiatric facility in the U.S., McLean Hospital in Boston, and received outpatient treatment. Mm-hmm. He was there for about 3 months. And in that time, he worked on his mental health extensively. He took a break from football at the time, let his coach know, let everybody on the Miami Dolphins know, I need to do this. I need to do this for me. I need to do this for my family. Mm-hmm. And he did. And since then, back, I guess, let's retrack a little bit. So when Brandon and I met at UCF, I went to school for forensic psychology. So we had a connection then. And then you fast forward 3 years later, we're married, and this happens. Mm-hmm. So I already have a heart for mental health. I worked in the field, worked in the jails, worked in the hospitals out of college. And so he has his passion and his desire and his story. And I have my passion and my desire and my story. And we pretty much married that, so to speak. And so now we have Project 375.
Was there ever a point where you thought that, or he thought that the mental illness could have been football related?
I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that he thought that. I think a lot of it became environmental at the time, so he wasn't sure, where did this come from? Mm-hmm. Like, it's because this is happening. It's because that's happening. Mm-hmm. This is a stressor. And then when he finally understood what the diagnosis was, it was like, oh, okay, it's environmental and other things that are going on.
How bad was it at home?
It was pretty stressful. I mean, there was times where we did not know if we were going to make it. We probably would not have made it. Here we are, 8 years married, 11 years together, 2 beautiful kids, 1 on the way.
Oh,
Congratulations.
Thank
Congratulations.
you. Nobody knows that, so if you're listening.
Oh, everybody knows now.
Everybody knows now. Congrats.
Yes. So 1 on the way, a baby boy. But, 8 years ago, I might not be sitting here, say, with the last name Marshall.
Was he like that when you first met him, or was it something that developed?
No. See, this is the beauty of our story. When I met Brandon in college, he was one of the most kind-hearted, respectful individuals I had ever met. I grew up in a single-parent household, so no father present. My father was abusive. So, like, I didn't really have this gentleman idea of a man. Mm-hmm. Brandon would walk me to my classes in college, carry my books, open doors. I had never experienced anything like that. Mm-hmm. And I was a nerd, so it wasn't like I was, really interested in him at the time, but he still continued and he persisted. And at the time, I was like, hey, you're an athlete. Yeah, I don't know about that. I'm here for my studies. Well, fast forward, I fell in love with him. Through that time and the transition that we had, he went off to play in the NFL. I went off to follow my dreams and work in my career. And we reconnected later on. When we reconnected, one of the things that kept me understanding is my background and the compassion that I had, but also that I knew him prior to.
Right.
And so I knew that when things were at their worst, this isn't who he is to his core. Mm-hmm. Like, I knew that. I knew the person that I had met. And there was many times that I was like, you know what, I just need my Brandon. Mm-hmm. Like, I want my Brandon back. Mm-hmm. Because there was a change. There was a change that happened. Mm-hmm. And it was over a period of time. It wasn't overnight. But I couldn't pinpoint it. I was too deep in.
Did you recommend that he seek help because you did have experience, or was it something that he sought to do on his own?
Absolutely. It was something that initially was asked of him. And then for me, I wasn't sure if it was something going on with him or us.
Okay. Because
it presented itself in our marriage. So I suggested we go to marital counseling. Mm-hmm. I'm big on counseling. I think it's important. Everybody needs it. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter who you are, what you're doing, what you look like. It could be beneficial. So I decided I wanted us to go to marital counseling, and that's kind of how it blossomed into something else. Anybody who knows when you work on your marriage, you need to work on yourself individually. Mm-hmm. So I also went to counseling individually, mm-hmm. and so did he. And then that kind of worked its way into other areas.
So counseling and therapy was like the first steps to getting better.
Mm-hmm. It was, because you open up, you talk about things that you don't want to talk about.
Right.
Things that make you vulnerable.
Oh, I love therapy. I swear by it.
Yeah, me too.
How did his teammates react when he had the press conference and let everybody know about his borderline personality disorder? Were mm-hmm. they accepting? Were they a little nervous? Did people come to him and say, you know what, I'm glad you came out about this?
I think a lot of it, majority of it, was very supportive. Majority of it was, you know what, I know somebody, or I think maybe I'm dealing with this, or what do you think about this? There was coaches that came up to him asking for help for family members. There was a referee. There was other players. And still to this day, a lot of times when people are dealing with something like that, they go straight to him or straight to me, depending on circumstances, to talk about it.
Now, a lot of people want to know, with this money that they donate, where does the money go?
Yeah. So the money donated goes, 100% of it goes to our programming, which is Project Prevent. Project Prevent, we partnered with Youth Mental Health First Aid, USA, and it's an 8-hour training that we provide for different communities, schools, you name it, around the nation. And we teach signs and symptoms of mental health disorders, how to identify when there's a child or a youth that's in need, what to do when you identify those signs and symptoms, how to actually have an action plan. Like, what do you do after, right? Okay, I see somebody needs help, now what? So we teach what to do, how to have those conversations, how to ask the question, are you thinking about killing yourself? Because nobody wants to ask that question. And that's one of the biggest things in mental health.
Because you can see how far gone they are. Yeah.
Well, not even that. If you don't ask, you'll never know.
Right.
Yeah.
So how are you going to prevent something that you have no idea somebody's thinking about? When in all actuality, it is very common for people to have suicidal ideologies, especially youth.
You did a TED Talk. You said the answer to stigma is compassion.
Yeah.
I totally agree with that. Why do you think people don't have empathy or compassion for, like, especially celebrities when they're dealing with that, mental health issues?
I think that people have an idea, a myth, that mental health and mental health related issues discriminate. Like, it's for the poor.
Yeah.
It's for the homeless. It's for impoverished communities. When in all actuality, there is no discrimination. Mental health does not discriminate against age, race, anything. It affects 1 in 5 people, period. At the time Brandon was diagnosed, it was 1 in 4. So I think one of the reasons is that, as well as people don't really understand, it's not a they-them issue. Like, it's us, it's me, it's my husband, it's a son, it's a daughter, it's my son's best friend. You know, it is something that affects 1 in 4. So there's 4 of us in this room, there's 1 person.
Me. Yeah.
You know, and possibly me, you know.
Right.
And if it doesn't affect you now, maybe it'll affect you later.
And
maybe
if it affects somebody close to you, it affects you.
Correct.
Right.
So for every 1 person, there's 6 to 10 people who are also impacted by that.
Now, you talked about the financial support that he had because, you know, he's in the NFL. What about resources available for people who, like you said, don't have that money? You know, some people feel like, well, I can't go to therapy or I can't do these things because I don't have money. What can people do if they feel like they need to seek counseling or get help?
I notice most people that do that don't even look into it. They just say that because they see the people that get it are successful.
But let them know, like, about resources and what you can do.
So depending on insurance, depending on what type of insurance you have, Medicaid, whatever, you are allotted a certain amount of mental health dollars, okay, depending on what it is. And through that, you can go and seek counseling. If you do not have that, there's a lot of other additional opportunities to go and seek free counseling. Different colleges. On campus, we partnered with UCF, which is our alma mater. And there, the whole community can go to their facility, which is on campus.
Oh, even if you don't go to that school. You can
Even
go.
if you don't go to that school and seek counseling and seek help.
Oh, that's great.
You can, I mean, right now, sadly, but our jail systems are our mental health systems right now. There's more people who are mentally ill, incarcerated, than there needs to be. So there's that as well, which poses a big concern and a big problem. When I did work with the jails, there's also programs that have pretrial release for people who are incarcerated who do have mental health issues. And so they can kind of segue and help you get the resources that you need. So there's a lot of different ways to go about it. It just depends on, like, what you have access to.
Now, you have 2 kids, right?
Yes.
What are the ages?
Twins, they are 3 and, well, 4 and 4 December 17th.
Or now, with them, will you start getting them into some type of counseling when they get a little older, just to make sure?
Absolutely. I mean, right now, I feel like I am their counselor. I mean, we believe wholeheartedly in mental health and psychology and wellness, overall wellness. So our kids, when they were 2 years old, when they first started to talk, it's like, okay, you're crying. Use your words. Tell me what's wrong. It doesn't matter how they say it, but in their words. I know what's wrong, but I need them to understand how to communicate what's wrong. Simple things like that in your home, allowing a child to express themselves. There's the boys and girls, right? Boys, get up, quit crying, quit being a punk. And then there's girls, oh, baby, what's wrong? Come talk to me. In that sense, treat them the same. Give equal opportunity for communication in your household, as well as you being able to communicate with them effectively. I'm upset, I'm frustrated right now, whatever the situation is. Your actions made mommy sad or uncomfortable or mad or, whatever. I was scared when you did that. That's why I got upset. Simple things like that you can start very early to where you can promote a healthy environment for your kids later on.
Why do you think it's such a stigma in the Black community about like mental illness and therapy and stuff like that?
Specifically in the Black community, I mean, a lot of times in later years we wanted to put it on church, right? And say, oh, you need to pray that away. You're not praying hard enough. Pray that off you. Or it's spirits or whatever the situation may be. And there was not a lot of talk about it, not a lot of education. If you go way back in history, clearly we, African Americans, did not have the education that we should have had. And when you talk about that, if you're not educated, you don't know. You can't talk about something that you've never understood, that you've never learned, that nobody's ever brought into your household. And that's not, knocking anybody's parents. But if you've never had a conversation about mental health in your household, you're behind the bar.
Right.
That's a fact. Like my grandmother, growing up, she used to be on nerve pills. And I just used to think she was super paranoid. Like, she used to act like a drug dealer. I don't want to talk on the phone. People in the woods watching me. But she clearly had some type of anxiety issues. My mom went to therapy 20 years ago. I didn't find that out till this year. Yeah. Like, why we don't talk about that kind of stuff?
And we need to. Because the more you talk about it, it gives other people permission to be vulnerable. If you don't talk about it, nobody wants to talk about their own issues.
Absolutely.
Not to mention, I don't want to talk to anybody that hasn't been through nothing. Don't give me no advice on marriage if you haven't been through nothing. Don't give me no advice on mental health if you live this perfect cookie cutter life on Instagram or whatever else and you have never experienced anything. I don't want to hear it. But if you've been through something and you've come out on the other side of that, or you're willing to go through what you need to get to the other side of it, let's have a conversation.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, you mentioned Instagram. Like, I have a theory that Instagram is causing everybody's anxiety to go through the roof because it's this unattainable picture of perfection is pain. But you also with personality disorder. Couldn't that create some type of personality disorder in people?
I think less of personality disorder, more of anxiety.
Got you.
More of self-esteem and confidence issues, which it is. They're doing research now, and I see but psychologists are doing research now on the effects of social media on people and adolescents and children specifically.
Because it's still fairly new for us, as far as the amount of years.
And that's very scary.
To accumulate that research.
But you're certified in behavioral profiling, so I'm sure that you notice some people's behavior online that's a little awkward.
Yeah. I mean, I choose who I follow. I choose what goes into my day. So when there's a whole lot of fluff and stuff, I don't really pay too much attention to it.
Gotcha.
I'm not really on people's stories like that. I understand what the platform is used for, and then I leave it at that. That's me personally. Like, I don't post my kids. We don't post our kids because, that plays into things too. But yeah, you see people living a completely different life. It's like their mistress. like you're living a completely different life than real life. And if you know them, it's like, I know that.
Right.
But whatever.
Sure do.
Well, donate people right now.
Yes, man. Project 375, they're getting the word out about mental illness.
Now, we had a question earlier, right? Do y'all donate to your own charity, or does it really make no sense to donate to your own charity?
No, we do, and we did. So we pledged $1 million to the foundation, and that in
That's
the
a good way to
beginning,
start.
yeah, and we asked that people matched it or attempt to match it when we were asking corporate sponsors and things like that, and really do what you can. I mean, it's $2,500 for one training in one school, and that trains 35 children, or not children, 35 teachers, adults on youth mental health first aid. So you multiply that, and that's, we can do whole districts. We do different communities, police officers, mothers, fathers, you name it. We've done it in hospitals and things of that nature. So all of the donation went to programming and keeping Project 375 afloat in the beginning. Now we receive donations, and all of that goes directly to the programming. There's not one dime that goes to our cost, our overhead.
I think I read something. Y'all used to help other foundations too, right? Didn't you do something with Taraji's foundation?
Yeah, just recently. So we partnered with them. When they launched in LA, we were there and helped promote that. So they're looking to have Project 375 do trainings. So as a partnership with their foundation.
Got you.
We got to get Brandon on the phone today too.
Yes, yeah, I told him. I texted him. He said yes, absolutely he will.
I know he got a little job and everything. He got a little training to do and stuff, but
he's just a tad bit busy.
just
but
a little bit.
Yeah,
Just a
it'll be
little
all right.
bit.
They're probably going to the Super Bowl this year.
We'll say that again.
Yeah, I think
Yeah, amen, amen, right?
Well, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for
we
having me.
appreciate you for flying out here just to come and sit with us. But we are excited to be working with you for Change for Change.
Me too.
You
Thank
miss
you.
New York at all?
I do. Oh my gosh. That 5.5-hour flight was rough, but when I got here, I was like, oh, my city.
All right.
So congrats on the baby and everything
Yes,
too.
congrats,
Thank you.
too.
Thank you.
Michi Marshall, it's the Breakfast Club. Good morning.